Okay, false start there. Because I just connected a couple of weeks ago the old router, wireless router out here. Sometimes when I start my phone, it picks the other router by mistake, so I have to manually change it to the Cammy's Garage router. So today I'm going to have my lovely and talented assistant, Lori the Maker, moderate things for me and do a little bit of camera work. So apologize for the false start, but I wanted to get things going just a little bit early to allow people to find the stream because, as far as I can tell, you can't set up a stream beforehand uh, and use mobile because I use my phone to stream. In fact, I've made a little. Um, this is my makeshift phone holder for my phone and my tripod. Just kind of hacked it together with a piece of 2x4. So this is how it's gonna go. So hopefully y'all can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me just fine and see me just fine. Hey Jolien, nice to see you. So as I said, my lovely and talented assistant Lori the Maker is going to be helping me in the garage today. All right, thanks for letting me know, Jolien. Excellent. So I learned a few things from the last live stream. Number one, I can slow down a little bit. I was kind of hurrying to try to show you guys some different techniques, things like that. And I guess we'll wait for a few more people to join in before we get going. Say that again?
Better audio.
Much better audio now, thanks to these microphones. These are AirPods. They're not only earphones, but also microphones, so the audio should be much better. Yeah, so welcome to Cammy's Garage. I want to thank everyone else that has been doing the live streams. Very interesting stuff. It's difficult to follow the very talented and wonderful Rebecca DeGroot. She is very experienced with the lathe and makes some very beautiful things. And she's an artist as well. I'm an artist. Well, I'm a full-time studio artist here. This is my studio, Cammy's Garage. And I want to thank everybody for showing up and watching. We'll give people a few more minutes to show up. So today, I wanted to talk about, okay, today I wanted to talk about art because I'm an artist. I know the guys that were on earlier have made some wonderful things, beautiful, beautiful pieces, are very, way talented wood turners. I mean, it's difficult to follow guys like that. And they made some beautiful bowls and other things. I've turned a lot of bowls, but I wanted to stress and talk about thinking outside the bowl, so to speak, with your wood turning, for example, not just wood turning, but basically making things that don't necessarily have a practical function. Art is about provoking an emotional reaction, and generally, I like to make things that give people a positive emotional reaction in general. At least I hope. I like the things that make things that are visually compelling. Often, especially when some of my Instagram videos were going viral, I had a lot of people saying, "What is that?" or "What does that do?" You know, get that kind of thing. And I'm like, well, it's just an art piece. It doesn't do anything except look nice, and that's okay. Making a bowl is okay. Making art is okay. In fact, I want to encourage you guys, as I said, to think outside the bowl and try something that's a little more artistic, that doesn't necessarily have a practical function. Maybe you can just hang it on the wall to make it look nice. Not that there's anything wrong with the bowls, the beautiful, beautiful pieces that people have made earlier today. Another thing I wanted to show you too. Last month, I made this letter opener from some skateboards, and I ended up finishing it, and that's what it ended up looking like now. So you can find that video and lots of other videos on my YouTube channel. I have over 300 videos now, so please subscribe. I regularly post content, at least maybe once a week, once every other week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. It just depends on what I'm doing. Something simple like this only takes me, an hour. or less even. I've done lots of big things that take me 2 weeks to make. But anyway, enough about talking. Let's start making something. So one thing I wanted to talk to people about as well is sketching out your ideas. Now, uh, if you know my background, I was an animator for 20 years. I was an illustrator. So I am accustomed to drawing and sketching just all the time. So the best thing to keep nearby is a post-it note pad. And I use things like, use this to sketch out ideas like this. Now, these are some sketches I had done just quickly to carve the front of a slab of wood or something like that, make wave shapes just strictly for aesthetic purposes, something that you can just hang on the wall. So I'd like to encourage you to try doing something like that. Now today, I'm going to do some wood turning, but I'm going to transform it. I'm not just going to turn it. I'm going to transform it into something else. So let's try that. Anyone have any questions right now? Okay. Thanks for everyone that's commenting and showing up. Hope everyone didn't have too much trouble finding the stream. Okay. Lori, can you follow me with the camera? So basically what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a circular object. It's basically just to hang on the wall. And I had this piece of oak that I think might be appropriate. So basically I'm just going to cut this into a square. Well, not a square, cut it into a circle, mount it to a faceplate, turn a pattern on the front, and then try something else with it. So I can show you the sketch of my idea, actually. Turn the camera down. So when I sketch really quickly. So basically I had the idea of turning a circular thing, make some kind of pattern on the front on the lathe, and then basically just cut it on the lathe. So just having it a circular thing, it could be okay, but at the same time, I want to transform it into something a little more interesting. So I'm going to cut it on the bandsaw, something like this. And then I'm going to take both of those pieces and make something else with them. I'll probably just take some dowels, put it in there, remove this center bit, put some 3 dowels in there like that. And maybe I'll make a smaller round piece of wood to go in there. So that's basically just the idea that I wanted to try to do. So let's get started. So you can see this end is got a big crack in it. So I'm just gonna do this side. We've got a slight.
Someone just called it a steering wheel.
Steering wheel, yeah. Yeah, I suppose it does look like a steering wheel. I'm gonna grab my drill. Yeah. Put a pilot hole in here for the screws. Comment, Lori?
I was just commenting. It's weird between looking at the delay between what you're doing.
Oh, okay. So we're just drilling some pilot holes for screws. Yeah.
So while you were talking about animation, somebody had asked about if you'd worked on The Simpsons. I did say in the chat that you worked on The Simpsons. I think it was 4 seasons of the TV show and also the movie. Is that right?
That's right, Lori. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah. So yes, I did work on The Simpsons between seasons 18 and 21, and I also worked on the movie, The Simpsons movie, back in 2006, 2007. And that was a really exciting time in my life, living out in California. so beautiful out there. Lori and I did lots of adventuring, getting up into the high Sierra Mountains, backpacking, things like that. We really enjoyed our time out there. That was my best job, the best job I ever had when I lived out there. I think I just stripped that hole. Be a little less aggressive with that one. All right, that's on there good. So I'm gonna take this over to the bandsaw, cut this off, cut the corners off.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, so last time someone commented that my bandsaw sounded really dull, and it was. Since then, I've put a new bandsaw blade, not only the new blade, but new bearings for my guides as well, thanks to my friend Larry Reeves, who I get the skateboard blanks from as well. He has a lot of these bearings that are out of old skateboards. Actually, the trucks and the wheels of the skateboards have these bearings that are the exact same size and shape as the ones on my bandsaw. All right, that's close enough. We can turn the rest on the lathe once we get it going. Yeah, my old Darth Maul face shield is looking pretty sad these days. Something my rubber horns here are deteriorating. Might have to do something new with that. So just for this demo, I'm going to do it pretty quickly with my carbide tool. Look at this square cutter here. Spins pretty freely. We'll get that going until it starts vibrating, which is about 600 RPM. Ideally, I could have drawn a circle on it and cut a perfect circle, and I'd have to do less work. What just happened there? Getting pretty close.
What are you trying to do here, Todd?
I'm just making this circular, and then I'm going to put a pattern on the front of this piece here. All right, so I am going to switch to my bowl gouge just to make the final cut on the outside because I got a lot of torn grain right here.
What's making the torn grain?
Well, because I'm being very aggressive with my carbide tool. It's not actually cutting the wood, it's just kind of tearing it off. See if we can get better angle.
So there was a bit of a Crafty week going on, so the fact that I'm wearing cloggy things definitely kills my feet.
Don't show your feet.
They're not Crocs, they're clogs.
Well, I always wear boots with steel toe in the shop. Well, that's a little nicer. I forgot to sharpen my tools before we started, so I'm not really gonna bother, but I am gonna make, because this is an art piece, I'm just gonna put some kind of decorative pattern on the outside here. Kind of random. Got some torn grain, but you know, I can come back and take my time if I wanted to finish that all nice and stuff. But I'm not gonna bother today. Simply for this demo. Actually, let's turn this around. We'll turn this around so you can see, so my lovely and talented assistant Lori can frame frame things a little better. I'm just gonna round this off here, like that. Change the angle. So I'm just gonna put a sort of a random pattern on the front once I flatten it off.
So for those who are not wood turners, why are you changing the angle of your rest? Do you want to talk about that as you make the pattern?
Well, if I'm turning the edge, I have to have the the tool rest this way in order to approach this edge, whereas if I want to do this side, I have to have the tool rest like this. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it any better than that. There was a bit of a bow in this piece of wood. I'm not saying my ideas always work out. This might suck at the end. I might look at it and go, that's not how I was hoping it would go. So I just put some random texture in there, that piece of wood. So I mean, you can do whatever kind of pattern you like. So like I said, this is just a random pattern that I'm making up as I go along. So I'm going to take it over to the bench now and remove the faceplate here. So now I want to draw a pattern on here, kind of like that. But I want it to be somewhat symmetrical, so I need to find something circular. What do I have here that's circular? Oh, hey, look at that. I got some old bowl blanks here that I might be able to use as a circle template. This is a cherry bowl that I roughed out quite some time ago and never finished it. Very lovely piece of wood. I'd put some CA glue in the cracks. Probably a little bigger than I would want it. Now you can probably make a template on your computer and bring it out here, but I'm just gonna eyeball it for now. That's what I do. That's how I do things in Camy's garage. You know, like I said, I had a 20-year career in the animation industry, just eyeballing things. Actually, I don't want to do it there because I hit that hole, and I don't want that hole to show in the end. So let's try this. Yeah, let's try something like that. Again, not necessarily symmetrical though, as you can see by that the distance here and the distance here, but that's close enough.
Someone says the screw hole should be spaced
for
evenly,
now.
so you could easily use that as a template.
Yeah, that's right. That's kind of what I was doing. Where there's 6 of these holes, so just divide that by 2, you get 3. And I was kind of using that as a center mark for that, and that hole is a center mark for that. But as you can see, my eyeballing job was not very good.
So you can tell James his ideas are valid.
James, your ideas are valid. That's a running joke in our household. Your ideas are valid. So I'm just going to cut these as smoothly as I can get it on the bandsaw here. Okay, so we have our pieces here. Well, as you can see, again, not necessarily that great, but it's close enough. It's like Demi DeResta says, if it looks straight, it is straight. Not that these are straight, but you won't notice in the end that they're not perfectly symmetrical. So what I'm going to do with these now is that I happen to know I have some 3/8 inch oak dowel over there. So I'm going to grab my drill again and put in my 3/8 inch drill bit. Oh yes, Rebecca Dugroot will recognize this tattoo because she uses saber tooth carving burrs as well. Yeah, I'm partnered with Sabertooth. They very generously sent me a sample pack, and I bought a few of their um, drill bits as well. I want to measure these so that they're in the same place. Well, pretty close anyway to the same place. Just gonna put them like an inch in, maybe. Again, I'll eyeball it because that's what I do. I'm gonna try to get this as straight in as I can. Make it a little loose so the dowel goes in there easily. This is just going to be a static display piece, so the holes don't have to be perfectly straight anyway. Like I said, if you're making art, nothing has to be straight or symmetrical or whatever. It can be whatever you imagine it to be. Use your imagination. Make something zany, crazy, something you haven't done before.
Someone says nice homemade press.
Homemade what?
Press.
Press. Press. Oh, are you talking about these inserts I put in here? Is that what you're talking about? Whoop. See, when I was drilling that one, it slid to the side. That's one thing about hand drilling things is that sometimes the drill bit doesn't do what you want, and sometimes it follows the grain. It's an advantage about having a, because that's off, I'm going to try to make it a little bit bigger.
Cammy's garage is about the simple solutions, right?
Yeah, simple and economical are what Tammy's garage is all about. When I first started making things, I was using a lot of reclaimed materials. I still do use reclaimed materials. I still have a few pieces of reclaimed material. Once I started getting more commissions, however, it was worth my while to start buying wood from the local sawmill. Again, that one moved that direction. So this is certainly not going to be symmetrical at all. Not what I'm doing that for. I want to do that. I want to do this. You know, I talked about sanding and finishing earlier and how things don't have to be perfect at all. Your art is done when you say it's done, and it looks like what you say it looks like. You don't have to meet any standards or anything. If you're making the art, it's yours. You say when it's done. Last one. Yeah. What are you laughing at now?
You want to have a woodworking
Yeah. Shop dog Levi unfortunately does not get to come into the shop very often because I don't like him to come in here when it's all dirty and filthy and dusty. I normally wear a face mask all the time when I'm doing things like this, except today, simply because of I'm doing this live stream today.
And this is why we're talking about Levi the shop dog, because the dog, I don't know if they can.
Yeah, that's Levi. That's the shop dog outside, patiently waiting for us. All right, so I have my holes drilled. Now I need the dowel. And they don't have to be all that long either. I'll get my saw. Although I do want these pieces to be suspended apart from each other. Kind of like that. So I need to make them at least an inch long, probably, maybe an inch, 2 inches long. I can just use this as a measuring tool. The next one will need 3 dowels. All right, see how they fit in here. Might be a little tight. Nope, they're all right. So ultimately, I could glue those in, but I'm not going to do that right now. The dowels are the same length, but as I said, I randomly drilled the holes, so they're not straight. As you can see, I'm having a little bit of trouble getting this last dowel in here. Yeah, but it's bending the dowels because the holes aren't drilled properly. Need to adjust this hole a little bit. Yeah, so this, I'm trying to get these to fit together nicely. I need to adjust this hole also. Just a quick adjustment. I'm dry fitting these to try to get them to fit together a little better.
Is this usually the most difficult part of doing things? I repeat what I'm asking because I don't know if they can hear.
Okay, so this part isn't necessarily the most difficult part of it. Usually the most difficult part of making something like this is the finishing, sanding. It's usually the most tedious. Now these, because I did this haphazardly, they're not fitting together very well. But I think you can get the general idea of what I'm going for. So ultimately you could glue those in there, make something a little more interesting. But how can we plus it? By adding walnut, of course. So let me see, how big is the center bit? Yeah. How big? Not sure. Of course, my incredibly intelligent wife has pointed out the fact that, yeah, it's this big. So if I had a piece of walnut that was, that size, I could put that in there to make it a little more interesting. I just happen to have some scraps of walnut here. So I will drill some holes, pilot holes. As I've already said, Cammy's Garage, we do things on the fly here. Make stuff up as we go. Generally, I go into things with a rough idea or a notion of what I want to do. I make up the rest. Things don't always work out. Sometimes I don't like the things that I make. That often happens as well.
So slightly smaller than your chuck, essentially, is what you need to do. Or whatever that piece is called.
The faceplate?
Faceplate.
Well, slightly smaller. Smaller.
Are those two woods the same thickness?
Let's see. They're very close. Maybe with the drill. Screwdriver. Okay, plenty of time. Plenty of time. So once I get this on here, I'm just going to cut the corners off on the bandsaw.
Many people are saying that they have this drill. It's a popular brand.
Yeah, well, it's cheap and very readily available at their local hardware store. So that's why I have a lot of those, that particular brand. I'm not sponsored by them, but I have a lot of their tools because they're easy to come by and reasonable quality. Well, I got a little too close. Yeah. Usually you want to be closer than that with your bandsaw guide. So again, I'm just going to use my carbide tool to rough it. You can get this one going a little faster since it's smaller. I can't go any deeper than that, otherwise I'll hit the screws.
Have you found that from experience?
Luckily, I've never hit the screws, so no, I haven't. But I've known that I can do that. I have hit old nails and stuff that I've found in green wood. Not for quite some time though. So I'm just making this as straight as I can on this edge. And on the front edge, or front side, this side, I'll make just another random pattern in here once I flatten it. Yeah, something like that. Now I'm just going to part this off with parting tool. You don't want to get too close. Thank you. I appreciate it. During the last live stream, afterwards, I kind of said to Laurie, I wish you were a little more active with the camera. So that's why we're getting a little more, a few more dramatic angles this time. Ordinarily, I would have caught that with my hand, but just for this purpose, just for this demo, I'm just gonna leave it like it is. I will take that little nib off though. With the chisel. There.
Show them the inside again. And slower and come over this way.
So I just put, that was just a random thing that I did. You can't be too detailed with it. And I wanted it to be something similar. Put that in there like that. I've actually made it a little too big because now my dowels are too short.
Damn it.
Dang it. Oh well, you get the idea. You can see what I'm going for here. So what are we going to do with this? Now, we have this here. So the other idea I had was to make 3 of these, put a dowel in here, and just have 3 of those for another art piece. How much time have we got? So we've got about 15 or 20 minutes. Well, let's just work on this for now. So something else you could do, as I mentioned, my other idea for this piece was to make a dowel hole. Like that. And ultimately I would put 3 dowel holes in here. Sorry, you gotta, do we have a question or a comment?
Yeah, they see it looks like a person with their arms up.
Could be. I want to be careful here. I could do what Rebecca did and drill a pilot hole first, which is a good idea, but I just want to do this quickly since we're running a little shorter on time. So we'll take one of these dowels we've already cut here, stick it together. It could be suspended apart like that. Yeah, there you go. There's your person with your arms up in the air. So feel free to explore ideas like this. And that's basically the idea that I wanted to get across today, is that I want you guys to try new things, try different things with your art. I know we still have plenty of time left as well.
Someone says it looks like that.
All right, yeah, Save the Children logo. I mean, imagination is ultimately your, you just have to use your imagination in order to come up with new things. Like, for example, my last video on my YouTube channel was I wanted to try out a sander that my partner Unita sent me, and I simply took a piece of walnut and I sanded it because the piece of wood in itself was very pretty. Walnut is beautiful wood, especially when you get the contrast between the sapwood and the heartwood. All I did was sand it off, cut it in 2 pieces, and then attached it with 2 other pieces behind. So I had basically 2 pieces like this, and then I took another 2 pieces of wood and attached them behind like this. Just hung it on the wall. I mean, just the wood in itself was so pretty that that's the type of thing that you can do. It doesn't have to be super elaborate. Like the things, I mean, even that thing that I did just now was not all that elaborate. But uh, it's just making something that's interesting, making something that is beautiful or ugly. It just depends on what you want. That's what I tell people when I encourage them to make art. I say, don't make something beautiful or ugly. Art is supposed to invoke an emotional reaction. And I think that's how I like to see it. It's the emotional reaction that you get is up to you to decide what you want to invoke in the viewer. Is there a comment?
Jolene is curious if you're planning to carve an animal anytime soon because they've always been so great.
That's thank you, Julian. That's very nice of you to say. Yes, I will certainly carve more animals in the near future. Uh, I can't say what those animals will be. Usually, I'm inspired by things that are happening around me, things that I see. Um, Often, I'll get, sometimes I get a piece of wood that inspires me to do something. For example, that the piece I was just talking about, that piece of walnut, it was pretty thin, and I didn't think I could use it for anything else. So I decided just to make that piece of wood in itself a piece of art. So it was a simple project that anyone could do. Anyone. You don't even need a tool, really. You just need some sandpaper, a piece of wood, and some glue. Maybe a screw or a screwdriver, screw or two.
And like, well, you have a dog lurking behind you, so maybe there's something you could do.
Yes, yes. I might like to try to carve Levi at some point in the near future. I do have another piece of walnut. If you saw my angel video, I really encourage you to go watch my angel video. I'm very proud of that piece, and it's entered into Art Fields this year. Art Fields is a yearly event that has upwards of, well, last year, well, actually it was canceled last year, but the year before that, it had $140,000 worth of prizes. The top prize being $50,000, and the person that won it 2 years ago was from Colombia, here in town. I'd actually met that artist a few times. She's a wonderful artist, hardworking artist, very prolific. And I entered last year, but it was canceled. I entered again this year, and my sweet black angel carving made it into. Oh, no, wait, sorry. Was I submitted it. I won't know until December if it's accepted. So I have this piece of walnut that this that angel was carved out of the other half of this piece of wood. Did you have a comment?
Well, so James had a question about what's your favorite piece you've ever made?
My favorite piece that I've ever made. That is a really great question. Out of wood, gosh, I think I'm the most proud of the icosahedron piece, which was made out of. There's a gigantic piece. You can find it on my YouTube channel somewhere. Big sculpture that was made from 20 segmented rings, and I think that was the piece I'm most proud of right now. But uh, I'm also proud of the shark. The shark video was an older video, but that's one of my favorite pieces as well. So you can check out those 2 videos on my feed, and make sure to subscribe and like this video. I notice a lot of people watch, but not as many people like as watch. Maybe you don't like this video. You hit thumbs down if you want. I don't know. As long as you hit the button, hit one of these buttons, and like or don't like my video. So I still have 10 minutes left. Um, oh yeah, I wanted to talk about this thing too, because just say you have a curved surface like this. Now, if I was to sand the inside of this curve, I would simply take it to my lathe, and I have my 20-inch disc sander, of course, with a platform, and I could just sand the edge of it like that, and make it nice and smooth, and then come back and hit it with some higher grit sandpaper, because the sandpaper I have on my disc is 40 grit right now. I do have some 60 grit, but I like to use 40 in order to shape pieces like I shaped this thing in last month's virtually crafty live stream. But if I were to sand in here, I don't have a spindle sander, and that would be ideally what I would use to sand inside here. So for a recent project, I made a spindle sander for my drill. I just turned it on the lathe and glued a piece of um, sandpaper on here with some spray adhesive. So I've seen Carl Jacobson use a tool that has a handle on this end as well in the drill, so you can sand the inside of curved surfaces like this. And if you're custom making this, you can make this as big as you like and glue on a piece of sandpaper. Someone else, JD of Dimensions Woodworks, said you could just cut a slot into the side as well and stick the sandpaper in that, and as it spins, it'll just hold it in there by friction. So that could be another idea as well, if you don't want to deal with the glue or two-sided tape or anything like that on there. So yeah, the next time I make something like this, I'm going to put a little handle on here, maybe that I could hold on to it. You could also have a ring or something like that, a nut to go over top, so you wouldn't have to hold. Like, obviously, if this was spinning, it would make friction and it would burn your fingers. So you could either make a little wooden ring or use a metal nut, and you could hold on to that and have better control over the sanding. Because right now, if I'm trying to do this, sand inside here, it'll be difficult to hold it this way.
So David Burke says you can make one for your lathe.
Right, yeah, you can make, I could make one for my lathe. That's a brilliant idea that I didn't think about. I used the lathe to make this, but for some reason it didn't occur to me that I could have made one for the lathe as well. That is a wicked idea, David. Thank you for mentioning that. Anything else I can talk about? Oh yeah, you can sand. I mean, I've seen plenty of people do this. You can just put dowels in the end of your drill to sand a dowel. If it's just slightly too big, like often, I buy these at the local hardware store, and they're often just slightly too big. Some people have complained that they're too small. I've found they're too big. So just sanding them just a little bit with the drill can make them fit in the hole a little easier and not get super stuck before you're done working on your piece. I've had to drill out dowels before because I get them stuck in there for some reason. But yeah, I have wanted to try carving something else out of this. I might make another angel or another human form. And I'm going to use, of course, my saber tooth tools to do that. I may eventually finish these bowls, these cherry bowls. This is very pretty wood that I got from a friend quite some time ago. I turned these rough blanks, I think I have 4 of them, a year ago or more, and I just never finished them because I'm not selling any bowls on Etsy.
So make an airplane out of walnut.
I could make an airplane out of walnut. I'm not really into aircraft. When I was younger, I was into them. I'm into cars. I've made a few cars. I race iRacing. I do online racing on my PC on a regular basis. And actually, I have another channel, Cam Porter, that you can see my racing on there. So I might as well end it up here. But if you guys have any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat right now. I can give you guys a break for the next stream. Andy Berkey is a guy you want to watch because he's got 35 years experience making things. He works a lot with wood. Just really talented, very experienced. You know you're going to learn some stuff from Andy Berkey, so you want to watch his live stream. And thanks for putting the link in there, JP. Awesome, buddy. Sorry I missed your stream this morning. I actually slept in a little bit this morning and I missed the first 4 streams. I'm embarrassed about that because I want to support all those great makers out there that make beautiful and wonderful things. So I want to thank everyone so much for coming along and watching. Please subscribe. You'll see lots of variety. I feel like I have lots of variety on my stream, my channel, and thanks a lot again to JP and Carl for inviting me again this month for the Virtually Crafty live stream event. So I'm very honored to be here. I'm honored that you guys have decided to join me. Thanks for watching, and go check out Amy Berkey. So thanks a lot, guys. It's really special that you've decided to join and hang out with me. So take care. We'll see you again soon in Cammy's garage.